By the time anybody noticed, it was already signed. Y'all. Pause. Take a breath. Because while everybody was watching the wrong door, somebody slipped through the back. And the people who were betting on her funeral? They just found out they were planning the wrong party. Let me say it slow. The blogger nobody was supposed to root for. The one with the lawsuit hanging over her head like a guillotine. The one Cardi B's camp has been chasing for years. She didn't just survive. She didn't just stumble back to her feet. She walked into the same building Wendy Williams used to walk into, sat down at the same table, and inked the kind of deal that doesn't get announced on a Tuesday by accident. This was timed. This was placed. And somebody, somewhere, is sitting in front of a phone right now refusing to pick it up. That's the cold open. That's the part nobody is saying out loud. So now let's actually rewind, because the way this story is being told to you in 5-minute clips is missing about 90% of the truth, and once you see the receipts, you're going to understand why certain people are not posting today. Okay. Reset. Here is what allegedly happened, and I'm going to walk you through it the way a real one walks you through it, because this isn't a one-line story. This is layered. This has fingerprints on it. This has years of receipts that nobody wanted to staple together until right now. Tasha K, and yes, I know, half of y'all love her, half of y'all want her career in a body bag, but stay with me, Tasha K just signed a partnership deal with Oceanic Tradewinds. If that name means nothing to you, that's the whole trick. It's supposed to sound boring. It's supposed to slide past the algorithm. But Oceanic Tradewinds is the same syndication machine that put Wendy Williams in every market in America. Same building. Same playbook. Same engine. The neighborhood talk got the scoop first, and within hours every blog with a working keyboard was scrambling to catch up, because the implications of this thing are not small. They are seismic. And here's the part that should make your jaw unhook from your face, they signed her knowing. Knowing about the lawsuit. Knowing about the judgment. Knowing about the bankruptcy filings. Knowing about every single Cardi B headline that's been dragging her name through the mud for 3 years. They saw all of it, looked at the spreadsheet, looked at her numbers, looked at her audience loyalty, and signed her anyway. That alone is the story. That alone is the headline. Because corporate America does not put their name next to a name they think is going down. Corporate America bets on winners. Corporate America just bet on Tasha K, process that for a second. Now hold that. Bookmark it. Because before we get to who's mad behind the scenes, and trust me, somebody is mad, somebody very specific is mad, I need you to understand the backstory, because the backstory is what makes this whole thing biblical. Rewind to where Tasha K actually started. This wasn't a girl handed a microphone by a label. This wasn't a Nepo network baby. This wasn't somebody Diddy invited to a white party. This was a woman who, by her own telling, started recording videos on the floor of her closet while she was still waiting tables. Closet floor. Hourly tips. A ring light. A laptop. That's the origin story. And from that closet, she built a media platform that, if you stack up every single one of her platforms, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, BGO, her own app, her own subscription stream, the late-night live shows, she's pulling between 150 million and 200 million views a month. A month. Not a year. Not a quarter. A month. Most cable networks don't see those numbers. Let me say that again so it lands. Most legacy television networks would sell organs to get a fraction of those numbers. And she built it solo, in a media space that historically does not respect women who look like her, talk like her, or refuse to play the polite girl PR game. Whether you ride for her or whether you wish her career to expire, you have to acknowledge the math. The math is the math. The math doesn't care about your opinion. So now layer in the Cardi B chapter, because that's the part everybody actually shows up to argue about. Cardi B sued. Cardi B won. Cardi B got handed a multi-million-dollar judgment. The court said pay it. Tasha said okay. Then Tasha filed bankruptcy. Then sources started saying money was getting moved around. Then there were allegedly accounts overseas. Then there was allegedly a company connected to her husband. Then there was allegedly a transfer here, an LLC there, a property reassigned over here. The receipts in the public filings read like a chessboard mid-game, and Cardi's legal team has been moving pieces too, filing, refiling, expanding the lawsuit, allegedly going after the husband, allegedly going after a company called Yelan Entertainment that's tied to him. Every few months, a new motion. Every few months, a new headline. Every few months, somebody on a live stream screaming that this is finally the end of Tasha K. It was never the end. It was the warm-up. And here's where it gets spicy, because this is the part the surface-level coverage is leaving out. While all of that legal noise was happening, while everybody was watching the courtroom door, Tasha K was sitting in meetings. Quiet meetings. Strategic meetings. Meetings that, according to her own statement, started 3 years ago. 3 years ago. Meaning while the internet was busy writing her obituary in real time, she was already in a boardroom 3 buildings over, building the exact thing that was about to make every headline irrelevant. Read that twice. While the comment section was burying her, the boardroom was hiring her. Let me drop the actual quote, because the quote matters. She said, and I'm reading, "I'm genuinely happy to be partnering with a company I've admired since I came into this business. Rick Party first spotted me on YouTube back in 2017 and took me to Gary, who I met 3 years ago. If it wasn't for Rick, I wouldn't have met or become part of this incredible team. Now, I'm working closely with Gary and Rick, and they're implementing a strong sales force team behind me and the brand that my team have built over the last 14 years. This is just the beginning." Pause on that last line. This is just the beginning. That's not a press release. That's a threat. That's a woman saying, in corporate polite language, that what you've been watching for the last decade was the appetizer, and the main course is now on the way to the table. And before you scroll away thinking it's just talk, let me tell you who Gary is, because the name Gary Bernstein is going to be on a lot of headlines for the next 12 months whether you like it or not. Gary Bernstein is the founder and president of Oceanic Tradewinds. He's not a brand new player. He's the guy who took Wendy Williams and syndicated her across the country when she was just a New York radio voice talking too loud about people who didn't want to be talked about. He's the architect. And his exact quote on this deal, read it slow, was, "Working with Tasha reminds me of when I worked with Wendy and syndicated her." That same star power, that same connection to the people. We're moving aggressively to syndicate Tasha nationally and globally. Nationally. And globally. Catch that. National syndication means every major American market. Global syndication means every English-speaking market on the planet and probably some that aren't. Radio. Television. Streaming. Podcasts. All of it. That's not a "we'll see how it goes" deal. That's a war room rolling out an empire. Now let's talk about who else is in this picture, because this part is being slept on. Rick Party, legendary executive producer, voiceover icon, the kind of name that gets dropped in every black radio booth in America, he said when he first saw Tasha K on YouTube years ago, he knew. His exact words, "She had the it factor." He compared her to Petey Greene. If you don't know who Petey Greene is, go educate yourself, because that name doesn't get thrown around lightly. Petey Greene is a black media legend, a man who talked to the people the way the people actually talk. And Rick Party just said this woman, the same woman certain blogs have been calling a clown for 3 years, is cut from that exact cloth. Unapologetically black. Fearless. Raw. Connected to the people. Conversation starting energy. Now let that sit. Because that is not the kind of language an industry vet uses about somebody he doesn't believe in. That's the kind of language you use when you're about to invest serious money behind somebody. And industry vets don't open their mouth like that on the record unless the checks have already cleared. So now the obvious question. The question you came here for. The question that's been buzzing in every group chat in America for the last 24 hours. What is Cardi B going to do? And this is where the story splits in two. Because there are two completely different theories floating around right now, and depending on which one is true, the next 6 months are either going to be the funniest plot twist in modern celebrity history or the most aggressive legal war we've seen since the early Drake era. Theory 1. Cardi just wants her money. If that's true, this deal is the best thing that ever happened to her case. Because if Tasha K is about to be syndicated nationally and globally, radio, television, the whole machine, then the woman is about to be flooded with the kind of money that makes a multi-million-dollar judgment look like a parking ticket. The numbers people are quietly tossing around for nationally syndicated radio talent in the celebrity commentary space are absurd. We're talking the kind of contracts where the back end alone can wipe out a debt overnight. So if Cardi's camp is being honest, if it really is just about the money, then they should be sending a fruit basket. Because the woman who couldn't pay them last year is about to be the woman who can write the check from her phone in the back of a Sprinter van. Theory 2. And this is the one nobody wants to say on camera. It was never about the money. There is an old, ugly truth in the legal world. When someone tells you it's not about the money, it's always about the money. And when someone tells you forget all that, I want my money, it's almost never about the money. It's about destruction. It's about humiliation. It's about taking somebody's name out of the game permanently. And if theory 2 is the real theory, then this deal isn't a relief for Cardi's camp. This deal is a problem. Because every dollar Tasha K earns from this syndication machine is a dollar that buys her better lawyers, bigger platforms, louder microphones, and a longer leash to keep saying whatever she wants to say about whoever she wants to say it about. Including, allegedly, the same person who sued her in the first place. So which theory is it? We're about to find out. And we're going to find out fast. Now while you're chewing on that, let me drop something else, because the receipts on this story go deeper than people realize. There has been quiet chatter, and I want to be careful here, because chatter is chatter until paperwork hits, that Cardi's legal team has not been just sitting in court. Some sources, are saying that there have been escalations behind the scenes that we don't fully see in the public filings. Whether that includes tips to certain three-letter agencies, whether that includes new motions being prepped, whether that includes a broader push to freeze assets and choke the cash flow before this syndication deal can fully spin up, none of us know for sure. But what we do know is that the legal pressure was already turned all the way up before this deal got announced. So now imagine what happens when the other side suddenly has a corporate machine, a sales force, and a national platform behind them. The pressure doesn't go away. The pressure shifts. The whole battlefield rearranges. And that's why this announcement is so much more than a press release. Now let me zoom out, because the bigger picture here is honestly more interesting than the personal drama. The bigger picture is what this deal means for independent media as a whole. For years, we've watched legacy media try to keep a chokehold on who gets a microphone and who doesn't. They've ignored entire audiences. They've dismissed entire culture. They've watched independent creators pull in numbers that humiliate primetime television and still refuse to take them seriously. And every now and then, every once in a while, the wall cracks. Wendy Williams cracked it. Charlemagne cracked it. Joe Budden cracked it. And now, whether you love her or hate her, Tasha K is standing in the middle of one of the biggest cracks we've seen in years, and she's getting handed the same syndication infrastructure that made Wendy a household name. That is the story. That is the actual headline. The Cardi B drama is the noise. The syndication is the signal. And the people who can't tell the difference between noise and signal are about to look very silly in 12 months. But here's where it gets even more interesting, because while you've been listening to me lay all of this out, there's a tour announcement sitting on top of the syndication announcement, and almost nobody is talking about it. The tour. 16 cities. The Everything is Allegedly tour. A one-woman comedy run starting in September. 16 cities is not a small number. 16 cities means promoters. 16 cities means venue contracts. 16 cities means merchandise, VIP packages, meet and greets, the entire live event revenue stream that most YouTubers can only dream about. The dates and cities will be announced on her website, but the framing alone tells you something. The word allegedly is the joke. The whole brand right now is allegedly. It's the same word her lawyers have probably been training her to use for the last 3 years, and she just monetized it into a stand-up tour. That's not just smart. That's surgical. So now we have a syndication deal, a tour, an app, a live stream, a YouTube channel, an Instagram, a TikTok, a Facebook presence, a BGO partnership, and a fan base that the executives are literally calling, on record, one of the most loyal in entertainment. They have a name. They call themselves the WOs. And the press release said it out loud, they don't just watch, they show up, they support, they convert. That's the kind of engagement advertisers spend years trying to manufacture. That's a quote. From the corporate side. Out loud. In writing. You don't see that quote in a press release unless somebody is preparing the market to spend money on this woman. Period. Now let me hit the rumor section, because there are whispers I've been hearing, and I want to lay them out responsibly. None of these are confirmed. None of these are statements of fact. All of these are allegedly. I'm putting that flag in the ground. Allegedly, there are conversations happening about a flagship show format. Allegedly, that format would include guests, segments, and possibly a panel, meaning Tasha K wouldn't just be the host, she would be the executive producer of a stable of personalities sitting under her brand. Allegedly, there are names being floated for that panel that would make your screen catch fire if I said them on camera. I'm not going to say them on camera. Not today. But understand that the model here isn't more YouTube. The model here is empire. The model is building the next syndicated talk media brand from the ground up using one of the most polarizing figures in the space as the anchor. If that sounds familiar, it should. That's the Wendy playbook. That's exactly how Wendy's empire got built. And Wendy, let's be honest, had her own messy chapter. Wendy got chased out of New York by people who didn't like what she was saying about them. Wendy got chased out of Philly for the same reason. Wendy exposed half of the music industry on the radio while she was personally going through every kind of storm imaginable, her marriage, her health, her addictions, every public humiliation you can think of. And she still built an empire. Statistically, she shouldn't have. By every metric of the industry, she shouldn't have. But she did. Because the audience showed up. Because the audience always shows up for somebody who tells the truth in a voice that sounds like their own. Now whether Tasha K is the next Wendy or just the loudest knockoff version, that part is up to her. But the infrastructure is there. The handshake is real. The contract is signed. And the money is coming. So back to the question. What does Cardi do? Let me float a scenario, and I want you to really think about this one, because if this happens, the internet will literally not survive the day. What if Tasha K's first big guest, on her first big syndicated show, ends up being Cardi B? I know. I know. You laughed. You scoffed. You said no way. But hear me out. Tasha K just got handed a national platform. That platform needs eyeballs on day one. There is exactly one guest in the world who would break every record in the gossip media space if she walked into Tasha K's studio. One. And it's the same person currently suing her. So would Cardi do it? Probably not. Cardi just came off a tour. Cardi has babies. Cardi has Stefon Diggs drama swirling. Cardi has Offset court paperwork. Cardi has every reason in the world to say no. But Cardi also has a price. Everybody has a price. And if the syndication number is right, that price might be reachable. Now, before y'all flood my comments, Offset can't go on the show because of the restraining order. We're not even floating that scenario. But Cardi? In theory? In a world where everything is a number? It's possible. It would be the most chaotic, history-breaking, screen-shattering booking of the decade. But it's possible. And the second thing nobody's talking about, the part that's actually been bugging me since I read the press release the third time, is the line about a sales force. They said, very specifically, that they are implementing a strong sales force team behind Tasha and the brand. Strong sales force. That language, in syndication, means national advertisers. National advertisers means brand deals at a scale most YouTubers never see. We're talking the kind of contracts where 1/4 of revenue can cover the entire Cardi judgment with money left over for taxes and a new car. So when people ask me, can Tasha pay Cardi back fast? My honest answer is, if this deal is what they say it is on paper, Tasha can pay Cardi back faster than the appeals court can stamp the next motion. Like in the time it takes you to refresh your inbox, that check could be written. Whether she chooses to write it, whether her legal team strategizes a different path, whether the bankruptcy structure allows for it, that's a separate conversation. But the cash flow is about to exist. And that changes every single thing about the leverage in this fight. Now let me give you the part that nobody else is going to give you, because nobody else is willing to sit in the gray space. This whole story is being framed by the outside as a win-loss situation. Tasha won. Cardi lost. Or, depending on which channel you watch, Cardi won. Tasha lost. But that framing is lazy. The actual truth, the messy truth, is that both of these women might be winning right now. Cardi just dropped music. Cardi just finished a tour. Cardi just had a baby. Cardi is on every billboard in America. Cardi is rich. Cardi is fine. Cardi is not losing anything by Tasha K signing a syndication deal. Not a single dollar of Cardi's money is at risk because of this deal. If anything, Cardi might finally get paid. That's not losing. That's winning. And Tasha K, even setting aside the legal drama, is staring down the biggest contract of her career. Her platform is about to expand. Her revenue is about to multiply. Her brand is about to go national in places it's never been. That's also winning. The only people losing in this story are the people who were emotionally invested in one of them being destroyed. The bloggers who were betting on the bankruptcy filing being the final chapter. The commenters who had the funeral playlist already queued up. The competitors who were preparing victory laps. Those are the people losing today. Those are the people who are quiet. Those are the people whose group chats have been suspiciously silent for the last 18 hours. And we see you. We notice. Now, here is the new information layer, the part that I think most coverage is missing. What this deal really signals is a shift in the syndication industry itself. For years, syndication has been hesitant to touch creators from the gossip and commentary space because of the perceived legal liability. Defamation lawsuits scare advertisers. Advertisers scare syndicators. Syndicators stay away. That's been the cycle. But the second a major syndicator like Oceanic Tradewinds publicly signs a creator who is literally in the middle of a defamation aftermath, the door opens for everybody behind her. Every YouTube commentator with a strong audience just got a clearer path. Every podcast host who was told they were too messy for radio just got a counterexample to wave in a meeting. This is a category-expanding deal. This is not just about Tasha K. This is about an entire creator economy quietly leveling up. And that, honestly, is the bigger story. That's the one I want you to leave with. The Tasha and Cardi drama will get the clicks. The syndication shift will get the history. And one day, when somebody writes the real book on the rise of independent black media in the late 2020s, this signing, on this Tuesday, with these names attached, will be the case study chapter. Now back to the drama, because we have to. We can't help ourselves. We're human. Here's what I'm watching for in the next 30 days. Number 1. Does Cardi's legal team respond publicly? If they file something new within the next 2 weeks, that tells you everything about the temperature inside the room. Number 2. Does Tasha K go on a media run? If she shows up on every podcast in the next month, that's the rollout. That's the marketing engine warming up. Number 3. Does Oceanic Tradewinds announce show details, format, timing, distribution partners? Because that's when we find out exactly how big this is. Number 4. Does anybody else from the music industry quietly congratulate her or quietly distance themselves? Because the body language in the industry right now is going to tell you who's about to be on her show and who's about to be the topic of the show. And number 5, the one I'm most curious about. Does the IRS, or any regulatory body, suddenly take a fresh interest in any of the previous bankruptcy paperwork? Because the moment money starts moving at this scale, every agency that was previously not looking has a reason to look. That cuts both ways. It could create new vulnerabilities for Tasha. It could also expose if anybody on the other side was, allegedly, trying to apply outside pressure through unofficial channels. Both stories are possible. Both stories would be huge. And I have a feeling we're going to find out which one is real within the next 90 days. Now I want to land this. Because we've covered a lot of ground. The headline is simple. Tasha K just signed one of the biggest deals of her career. She did it with the people who built Wendy Williams. She did it knowing the lawsuit. They signed her knowing the lawsuit. The deal includes national and global syndication, a tour, a sales force, and the entire infrastructure of legacy media support. The lawsuit isn't going away, but the leverage just flipped. The money is about to exist. Whether Cardi takes the check or chases the destruction is the next chapter. And the people who bet on her downfall just lost the only bet they had. That's the story. That's the real story. And the version of the story you'll see on other channels in the next 24 hours will be missing about half of what we just talked about, because nobody else is willing to sit with the gray. Nobody else is willing to admit that both of these women might be eating well. Nobody else is willing to admit that the real losers are the audience members who built their identity around hating one woman and now have to watch her win in real time. So as you're scrolling, as you're commenting, as you're watching the clips, I want you to remember one thing. The story isn't over. The story is just relocating. It's moving from the courtroom to the boardroom. It's moving from depositions to distribution contracts. It's moving from, will she pay, to, what will she build next? That's the level we're operating at now. Adjust your binoculars accordingly. And before I let you go, a couple of things I want to plant in your head for the next round, because you know there's going to be a next round. 1. Watch the announcements that come out in the next 2 weeks about specific show formats. The press release said more details are coming. That language is intentional. They're staggering the rollout. Every announcement is going to be its own news cycle. Each one is a stitch in a larger sweater they're knitting in front of us. 2. Watch who tries to attach themselves to Tasha publicly in the next 30 days. Watch which influencers slide in the DMs, which podcasters suddenly book her, which brands suddenly remember her name. The vultures circle, and the friends multiply, the second a contract that big gets announced. The list of new best friends is going to be longer than the lawsuit filings, and we're going to keep a list. Trust. 3. Watch the language Cardi's camp uses. If they suddenly soften, that means they're negotiating. If they suddenly escalate, that means they're scared the leverage is gone. If they go silent, that means something bigger is being prepped in the background. Every move is a tell. We're reading the table now. 4. Watch Tasha's content tone. The smart move would be to dial down the personal jabs at Cardi and Offset and Stefan Diggs, at least temporarily, because syndication partners do not love active flame wars. The bold move would be to dial them up, because conflict moves numbers. Which one she picks is going to tell you whether she's playing the corporate game or whether she's playing the same game she's always played, just with a bigger room. And 5, and this is the one I really want you to sit with, watch the women in this story. Both of them. 2 women from very different starting points. Both unapologetic about who they are. Both about their families, their men, their money, their work. Both have been dragged. Both have been counted out. Both have been told they would never be where they are. Both are sitting where they're sitting anyway. There's a parallel in this story that the chronically online crowd is too distracted to notice, but if you zoom out, the resemblance is uncanny. In a different timeline, in a different world, these two could have been allies. In this timeline, they're rivals. And rivalries can flip. History is full of them flipping. I'm not saying it will. I'm not saying it should. I'm saying don't write the ending yet, because this story has years left in it. One more thing before I sign off, because I know somebody in the comments is going to ask. The question I keep getting in the DMs is, does this deal change the appeal? Does this deal affect the bankruptcy schedule? Does this deal give Cardi's team a new angle to argue undisclosed income? And the honest answer is, we don't know yet. None of us know. The filings haven't dropped. The schedules haven't been updated. The press release was a press release, not a court document. So anybody on the internet right now telling you they know exactly how this affects the legal posture is guessing, and they're guessing loud. Be careful who you trust in this story. Be careful who you let frame it for you. Take everything, including what I just told you, and stack it against the actual paperwork when it comes out. That's the only way you'll see the real picture. Everything else is theater. Some of it is good theater. But it's theater. And the people putting on the show want your clicks more than they want your understanding. Stay sharp. Stay reading. Stay watching the boardroom door, not just the courtroom door. Because the next twist is already loading, and by the time it drops, somebody is going to look back at this exact moment and say, yeah, that was when the whole thing changed. You heard it here. We logged it. We're on the record. And we'll be the first ones back when the next page turns. So that's it. That's where we are. Tasha K signed the deal. Oceanic Tradewinds is the partner. The Wendy Williams comparison is on the record. The national and global syndication push is real. The tour is 16 cities deep. The lawsuit is still alive. The money is on the way. And the question that decides the next chapter is whether Cardi B wants her money or whether she wants Tasha K's career. If she wants the money, this is the best day she's had in court since the judgment. If she wants the career, this is the worst day she's had in court since the judgment. There is no middle answer. And we're about to see which one it is. If you made it this far, you're the real ones, and you already know what time it is. Drop a comment with your theory. Money or destruction? Pick a side. Tell me what you think Cardi does next. Tell me who you think Tasha books first. Tell me whether the WOs are about to take over actual national radio. Tell me everything. I read every comment. I send some of you receipts in the replies. You know how I do. And if you're new here, welcome to the only place on this app that's going to tell you the gray area version of the story while everybody else is screaming the easy version. Hit subscribe. Hit the bell. Hit the like if any of this made your jaw drop, your eyebrow raise, or your group chat light up. Because we are not done with this story. Not even close. We'll talk again very soon. And the next time we talk, something else will have already happened. That's how this story works now. Every week is a new piece. Every piece is a bigger move. And every move is bringing us closer to the moment where one of these two women has to make the call that ends the standoff once and for all. It's not over. It's just getting started. And whoever was preying on this woman's downfall, you need to find a new deity. Because this one ain't answering today. Talk soon. Bye. P.S. Real quick before I go, I want to put a pin in something that I think is going to matter a lot more than people realize over the next few weeks. The press release used the phrase, multi-stack syndication deal. Multi-stack. That is corporate speak for layered revenue. Radio is one layer. Television is another layer. Streaming is another layer. Branded merchandise is another layer. Live events are another layer. International licensing is another layer. When somebody describes a deal as multi-stack, they are telling you, in writing, that the partnership is designed to monetize the same audience across at least 4 to 6 different revenue channels at the same time. That is not a small business model. That is an empire blueprint. And the fact that they put that language in the very first sentence of the rollout tells you exactly how seriously they are taking it. Another layer to watch, and I'm not going to belabor this, is the geographic expansion piece. Global syndication, in practice, usually starts with the Caribbean, the UK, parts of West Africa where the diaspora audience is already engaged, and then expands outward from there. If you see any announcements over the next 60 days about distribution partnerships in those regions, that is the rollout map quietly executing in public. Most viewers will not notice. We will. And we'll come back and connect those dots in a future video, because that is the kind of pattern that tells you whether this deal is window dressing or the real thing. While we are connecting dots, here is a side note that I think is going to age really well. Look at who is not in this picture. Look at the names that did not show up as partners on this deal. Look at the legacy media companies that passed on Tasha K over the last 3 years. Every single one of them had multiple chances to sign her, develop a show with her, license her content, or even just attach a brand to her audience. They all said no. They all said the lawsuit makes her too risky. They all said her tone is too aggressive. They all said she does not fit the brand. And every single one of them just got bypassed by a competitor that said yes when they said no. That is the part of corporate history that does not get talked about enough, the meetings that did not happen, the deals that did not get signed, the green lights that never came. Those meetings always look smart in the moment. They almost never age well. And in 12 months, when this deal is producing real numbers, the same executives who passed are going to be sitting in their offices wondering why their name is not the one in the press release. Take notes. This pattern repeats itself in entertainment every single decade, and it always ends the same way. One more piece of context that nobody is bringing up in the rush to react. The press release specifically named Rick Party as the person who discovered Tasha K on YouTube in 2017. 2017. Pause on that year. In 2017, YouTube gossip channels were nowhere near the cultural force they are today. Most legacy media executives did not even know they existed. Most advertisers were not buying ads against them. Most agents would not return their calls. For an industry vet like Rick Party to be paying attention to YouTube gossip content in 2017 means he was scouting an entire decade ahead of the market. That is the kind of long view that builds empires. That is the kind of foresight that gets entire networks built around one person. And the fact that he then spent the next several years quietly nurturing that relationship until Gary Bernstein could come in and close the deal tells you exactly how patient and how strategic the people behind this rollout actually are. This was never a Tuesday morning impulse signing. This was a multi-year recruitment that finally crossed the finish line. The patience of that timeline is the whole story behind the story. And once you see that pattern, you cannot unsee it. Last thought, and then I promise I am actually done. The most underrated detail in this entire story is the 14-year reference in Tasha's own quote. 14 years. She has been building this for 14 years. Most of the people commenting on this story today were not even aware of her until the Cardi B lawsuit became headline news. They are reacting to a chapter and pretending it is the whole book. The book is 14 years long. The lawsuit is one chapter. The syndication deal is another chapter. The next chapter is not written yet. And if you have been here long enough to remember what her channel looked like in 2017, you already understand that the only constant in her career has been forward motion, regardless of the obstacle in front of her. That is the part that makes this signing feel less like a surprise and more like an inevitability that the rest of the media is just now catching up to. Talk soon. For real this time. Bye. Alright. Final word, and I mean it this time. If you take nothing else away from this whole breakdown, take this. The next 12 months are going to be the loudest, messiest, most expensive chapter of this entire story, and the people who get ahead of it are the people who stop watching the obvious moves and start watching the quiet ones. The contracts are quiet. The boardroom meetings are quiet. The advertiser conversations are quiet. The international distribution handshakes are quiet. Every loud headline you see in the next year is going to be a distraction from a quieter move happening 3 rooms over. Train your eye for the quiet stuff. That is where the real story lives. That is where the real winners get crowned. And that is where this whole thing is going. So set your notifications. Bookmark this page. And when the next twist drops, because it absolutely will, come back here and we will break it down together. The receipts.